festive beverage in a big Bills football stein. And hello, welcome to a very special holiday episode of the Gilmore Away podcast.
This week is particularly special for us because two of our worlds are colliding for a perfect holiday moment. Vanessa Marano, who, for those of you who may not know that name, just by me saying it, plays April Nardini on Gilmore Girls, has co-written a Hallmark movie about our beloved Buffalo Bills. As of this recording, the Bills are 99% guaranteed to have a playoff spot this year, and the holidays are in full swing with 2026 right there on our horizon. So it seems like the perfect time to call an audible from our usual discussions about all things Gilmore and put on a highlight reel for everyone about the movie that we feel finds the end zone in terms of conjoining the spirit of the holidays with the Bills Mafia. It's the crossover we always needed, and we finally have.
Indeed. All right, so we're going to start with just a quick synopsis of the movie. And it's been a minute since we've had an episode where we've had to do a spoiler alert. So, spoilers, if you haven't seen this movie yet, get to W Network, get to your PVR, get to the Hallmark streamer. You get 7 days free if you want. Stack TV if you're in Canada. Find a stream of it. Go watch it. Spoiler alert. Again, we loved it. So, go watch it. Mm-hmm. If you haven't watched it and you're still going to stick around, or you have watched it and you're ready, let's go. So this is the IMDb synopsis. The Quinns and the DeLucas have lived next door to each other for decades in the shadow of Highmark Stadium, the home of their beloved Buffalo Bills. With their longtime friendship rooted in being proud members of Bills Mafia, the two clans have enjoyed cherished traditions that revolve around cheering for their favorite team, especially at the holidays, when they celebrate the last home game before Christmas. Pediatric doctor Morgan Quinn and the Bills' VP of Stadium Development, Gabe DeLuca, have been lifelong friends, but Gabe has always held the torch for her. A fact obvious to their families and everyone else who crosses their path. When Morgan learns that from her Uncle Tommy, that someone anonymously helped her family get by after he was drafted more than 60 years ago, and that he continues to receive a Christmas gift from each year to this day, she decides to find his benefactor and give her uncle a Christmas he'll always remember. Aided by Bills Mafia friends of theirs, Morgan and Gabe work together to unwrap the gifter's identity. Along the way, Gabe's love for Morgan deepens, and in turn, she begins to see him in a new light, though neither is daring enough to admit their feelings. Meanwhile, Morgan's hopes of pulling off her surprise for Uncle Tommy get sacked. That is until Gabe takes matters into his own hands and uses his connections with the Bills to pull off the surprise of a lifetime for Morgan and both of their families that will make this Christmas one they'll never forget.
Yeah. Great movie. We're just going to start working through it chronologically. Some other topics may come up as we start to just discuss it that way. But the movie kicks off showing us Bar-Bill Tavern, which is actually a real place. A lot of this film was filmed on site in East Aurora, New York, which is about, I would say, just a couple miles east of the Bills Stadium in Orchard Park. So just shout out to the decision making there to actually film it within the town and within Western New York. I think that was just the absolute right call to make. But we see our main character, Morgan, at Bar-Bill Tavern, and the girl's just trying to enjoy her football Sunday. Now, she's obviously on a date at this point in time with what Kate and I refer to as a thank you next nothing burger of a man. But we very clearly see that our character, Morgan, has a very deep and profound love for the Buffalo Bills. She's just trying to watch the game, balance, having a date with this guy. And he is just 1,000% not into it and not having it.
Yeah, he's the other kind of football fan, which, again, I can get behind. I'm a Chelsea fan, but I like both kinds of football. And it just seems that he's not very into it. And when it's such a big part of her personality, basically, and he's not really into it, that's kind of a red flag that, maybe there's not a lot in common there. And so she kind of, ignores him a little bit. And he's like, yeah, I don't think this is going to work out. Sorry, you seem nice. But then she goes up to the bar and talks to none other than Andrew Walker, who is a longtime Hallmark alum. And basically when he found out that they were making a Buffalo Bills Christmas movie, he was like, I have to be in this. I will take any part. Just, I need to be a part of this, because he grew up in Montreal and has been a lifelong Bills fan himself. And he was able to go to Buffalo and to a game. He went to the September 10th game. I think that was the season opener, if memory serves. And that was a wild game. Not jealous at all that he was there. That's a lie. So I love how enthusiastic he was to be a part of it, because he's a genuine fan. And that's just so sweet that they were able to accommodate him.
Yep. And he delivers what is, I have a few standout lines that really just spoke to me throughout this movie, but just he kicks it off right away as soon as this guy just eats himself from the date situation, realizing that they're not going to work out. And she goes up to this bartender and he just immediately says, like, wherever you found that guy or wherever you met that guy, just go there less. And I was like, yes, that's it right there.
Yeah, that was funny. I also know him from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Like, that was where I first discovered him. I don't know if I've seen any of his Hallmark Christmas movies. So, like, I guess that's another thing that I should kind of kick off with here as a preface, is that, like, I don't typically do the whole, like, Hallmark Christmas thing. You know, I have a couple favorites that I rewatch each year: The Holiday, The Santa Claus, The Grinch, the Jim Carrey one. Although I would not say no to the original cartoon either. Love that one. And when I was a kid, I loved the like claymation ones too, but I haven't really watched those so much in years past. But like, I don't do the whole countdown to Christmas thing. I am not one of those people who is like glued to every Christmas movie for 4 weeks in the lead up. So it's just, I've watched probably more this year than I have in the last 10 years combined. Let's put it that way. And so for me to really like this movie and to have so much to say about it, I think is telling to the quality of what Danny and Vanessa were able to help produce here.
And I have to echo that. I am 1,000% not a Lifetime movie sort of girl, Hallmark Christmassy stuff, the sappy romance. It's just not the ball game that I want to be going to. It's for some people, it's just not for me. But this movie did it for me. And I'm just going to echo what you said again. The fact that it did, and that we are here and we want to talk about it because we felt so positively about it, I think just speaks to how well it was put together.
Exactly. It's funny. I was reading the IMDb reviews, and there was somebody who was, putting in a sarcastic, parodic kind of comment. And they were like, finally, after years of scientific research, Hallmark has found a second Christmas movie plot. And I was like, kind of. It is not 100% fresh, because we obviously had the Holiday Touchdown, A Chief's Love Story last Christmas. So it was Hallmark and the NFL finally coming together to start what feels like it could be like a yearly thing. My money's on next year. They're probably going to do the Eagles. That's just like my spidey sense. I have no idea if that's accurate. But the Chiefs made sense for their first one too, because Hallmark was founded in Kansas City. So there's that. And I don't know why they picked Buffalo for their second one, but I'm all here for it. So
yeah, I'm going to interject real quick and say, like, this is maybe a friendly bet that we can have. If you think it's going to be the Eagles, I would put my money on them doing the Dallas Cowboys. Ooh. Just because it's America's team, and you'll have pretty much all of like Texas and the Deep South in on that. But we will see what happens.
Interesting. Texas and Christmas. Well, it just kind of seems like they're doing a lot of the teams with the wildest fan bases. I mean, granted, I guess the Cowboys kind of fall into that as well. So it could well be them. I just, with the Chiefs and the Eagles being recent Super Bowl winners, I think that was part of it. Just capitalizing on these teams that are actually doing really well right now. Sorry, Dallas.
We're not sorry.
Big yikes. Yeah, sorry, not sorry, but big yikes on your last couple seasons. So that's kind of why I was leaning maybe more towards Philly. And I don't know. I feel like Pennsylvania might be a good place to film a Hallmark movie. Christmas in Texas is an interesting one. Like, so many of these movies are like Minnesota, Michigan, upstate New York, Massachusetts, all of those, like the northeastern states where it's cold and actually snows, as opposed to like Christmas in the South. So
now that scares me, because this does 1,000% not mean that we want a Patriots one. Miss us with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It pained me enough to watch the Chiefs one. And not because of like the movie itself, but just like all of the Chiefs imagery and like fandom that was going on in that movie. I was like gritting my teeth through those parts.
But we can also just very quickly revel in the fact that the Chiefs are not making the playoffs this year, and there is a football god, and he has answered our prayers.
That did make it a lot easier to watch. I didn't watch it last year. I only just watched it after I watched the Bills one because I was like, I feel like I need to compare apples to apples here and watch them both. So I hunted it down and I watched it. And it was fine. I didn't hate it. But yeah, the setting was not for me. Whereas this one, you know, even going back to the beginning of the movie, that sort of aerial shot of Buffalo at night at Christmas, I was like, you know, I have a soft spot, not only just like as a fan of the team, but like I've been to Buffalo multiple times. That's where you live. I'm kind of like attached to the place now. And so to be like, hey, I've been there. I know, you know, what that is. And like, I've been a part of this stuff myself, as have you. And so I think that really contributed to feeling all the feelings that I felt with this movie and why I didn't feel the same feelings about the Chiefs movie. But it made it a lot easier watching it at that stage, like 5 days ago, maybe. Just knowing that they weren't going to the playoffs. It's just, it made it a lot more palatable for me.
Mm-hmm. And that's very, very fair. In case you haven't noticed, we're going to sandbag pretty much any NFL team who's not the Buffalo Bills throughout the course of this episode. So come at us. We're here for it. But going back to the movie, after that date, ends and Morgan is able to watch her game, the movie progresses and we start to actually meet the Quinns and the DeLuca family. And we immediately just get an introduction to all of our key players in this film. We're able to meet Ricky and Frank DeLuca, who are Gabe's parents. We're also able to meet, Joanne, who is Morgan's mom. We're able to meet Kathy, the sister, as well as Uncle Tommy, who is going to become central to the plot as well. And we see them just, hanging out at home, just debating over a Christmas tree. You need to find the right one, who's going to go get it. And it's just immediately, I think, really heartwarming to see these two neighboring families just getting along so well, during the holiday spirit. And I think having a debate over what is probably realistic for most families. It is kind of sometimes all about the tree.
Yeah, it felt very real. Sometimes you can go into a Hallmark movie and be like, this feels very wooden. I'm not buying into it. I don't believe the like family camaraderie here or the love here. But I felt like all of the actors did a great job. So Ricky DeLuca is Caroline Aaron. So another sort of Amy Sherman Palladino connection, I guess, because she was Shirley Maisel in another one of Amy's projects. And Tracy Pollan plays Joanne, the mother, and she's Michael J. Fox's wife, which I'd kind of forgotten about until I looked her up. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. So, like, she's had decades of a fantastic career herself. And Joe Pantoliano plays Uncle Tommy. And Steve Sharippa plays Frank DeLuca. So, like, lots of big names. Some like, Sopranos actors. I was looking at Joe Pantoliano's IMDb, and I was like, this guy's done everything. You know what I mean? So some excellent talent was scouted for this movie, and they felt real. If you've been to upstate New York and you've like interacted with people there, it felt organic and it felt right. And they felt like a real kind of set of neighbors who get together to discuss the intricacies of the holiday tailgate.
Yep. And they immediately just interject some awesome comedy into it, which I really appreciate. And it's comedy that's centered around the Bills Mafia, which I think is just, fantastic writing there, with Morgan's sister, Kathy, being like, listen, like, she's pregnant in the show, and she's like, I need this kid to immediately just come out because, like, we're about to go to the game in a few weeks. I can't miss it. I need this thing to just get popped out of my body as soon as possible. So she starts doing all of these like true to form Buffalo things, just like chugging hot sauce, reading all of these like online things just to try and get this kid to come out. And then Morgan's just over there like, I don't know what you want me to tell you.
I literally wrote down one of the quotes. I need to turn up the heat and kick this bun out of the oven before the holiday came. It's like, you're making yourself sick. I'm pregnant, Morgan. I'm always sick.
Yep. And they immediately just insert the debate over like blue cheese or ranch. What do you want with your wings? Which, if anyone is from Buffalo or even resides in the area, that is a very heated debate, pun intended. When you order your wings, you will get judged on whether or not you ask for ranch or blue cheese. So you have been warned.
Yeah. And I will just say as well that Buffalo is called the city of good neighbors. And so I love how they were able to weave that into the theme of the movie. Like they really kind of took that idea and ran with it, being like, ooh, our male and female lead are going to be neighbors. They're going to be like longtime best friends. And so again, to me, that's believable. The whole girl next door, we went off to different colleges and did different things, but our families are still very close and we're still very much in contact. That feels like something that could actually happen. And I love that it was woven in so seamlessly. And I love that it's a friendship that underpins this whole thing, as opposed to like, again, anybody who's watching this has probably seen a gajillion Hallmark movies, and it's sort of like the meet cute and the stranger from out of town and the implausible meeting and falling in love, as opposed to like something you probably know someone who's fallen in love with their neighbor or their childhood best friend, and so it feels like something you can really connect to, as opposed to the like, oh, I'm visiting my hometown in upstate New York and in walks a handsome stranger who has the same coffee order as me. Stuff like that. It's fun in fiction, but this felt grounded and real.
I definitely agree with that. And then we move forward to them actually doing said Christmas tree shopping at Shanahan Farms. Talk to me about the chemistry that you start seeing between Gabe and Morgan at the Christmas tree farm. Because I think to anybody watching, and spoiler alert again, to both of their families, it's very apparent that these two people are vibing with one another in that way, even if they don't want to admit it to themselves right at this moment in time. But talk to me about the flirtation and what you're seeing going on when they're Christmas tree shopping.
My first thought when I was really sort of watching that scene go down, I was like, the banter. And it felt Gilmorean almost. It had this speed and this intelligence about it. It felt like they were just on the same wavelength. And so, yeah, the chemistry was definitely there. And I also love how they had sort of the cameo from Tyler Hynes and Hunter King from the Chiefs movie. I was like, who are those people and why are they so like prominent here? And then I realized who they were and why they were there. But I thought it was like a funny tie-in. And I think is this also when we see Santa for the first time? I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
When we see Abraham Ben Ruby as Santa. And he played the Santa in Chief's love story as well. And so we're getting this continuity, but also with, the fresh characters, and it blended so nicely. And I love kind of after they've picked out the tree and they run into their friends and they go into, I can't even remember what it is. It's like a barn or a market or something. And they're all just kind of standing around and she is on the phone with his mom. Like the fact that she's the one like, your mom's asking about the tree, I'll handle this. Like she knows how to deal with Ricky, and it's the cutest thing. But she steps away, and then their friends are like, so when are you going to tell her that you're into her? Like everybody can see it. It's just that apparent. It's crackling, basically. It's like a log on the fire. It is crackling. And it's funny because some people in the IMDb comments were like, there's no chemistry between these actors. And I'm like, sure. Whatever you say. Like, again, I guess, your mileage may vary for any on-screen pairing, but I think maybe for me, it really, like, the standout was Matthew Daddario as Gabe. I just felt that he was so relaxed and easy and smitten, and that came across to me. And so I just really connected to his portrayal of this guy. Maybe less so to Holland Roden as Morgan. I also watched her in Five Gold Rings, which is funny because that was the movie on the marquee at the Aurora Theater, which is also where they had the premiere for this movie, which I thought was a perfect tie-in. But so I watched that as well, and I also didn't find myself connecting to her as much in that either, or to her chemistry with her partner in that movie. And so I think for me it was really Gabe carrying some of that weight, but it doesn't hurt that he looks like Josh Allen.
That's an excellent take, and I agree. He is he's just nice to look at. Matthew is a attractive human being. Yeah. We're not here to objectify, so I will just leave it at that.
Fair enough. Anyway, so going back to that scene, they have like this group of 3 friends. There's Vinny, Trish, and I want to say Sam. I could be making that up. But I really like Vinny because he's just kind of the one who comes in with the like the interjections of things that need to be said and that are very much like of the moment. And so he's kind of psychoanalyzing the whole situation while she is on this phone call. And he's like, you're a classic anxious avoidant personality. You know, it's fear-based. And then he clocks Morgan as dismissive avoidant. And I'm just like, you know, I find it funny when writers are sort of cognizant of this kind of conversation about the attachment styles and how we talk about it in media. And I definitely think it was very much intended on the part of Vanessa and Danny to sort of like poke fun at the different kind of types of people you see in holiday movies. It felt very meta.
And for me, I will just go back to him wanting to interject and immediately, especially for Vinny just being like, when are you going to tell her? To me, when I rewatched it and the more I thought about it, the more I felt like every time that Gabe tried to just confess his feelings to Morgan and it just continued to not work out, it was like first down, incomplete pass. Couldn't do it, you know, got interrupted by the friends. And every time that it kept on happening, it was just like, ooh, second down, flag on the play. And then eventually, spoiler alert, we will get to, you know, fourth down and goal, so to say. And he decides to go for it and is actually able to like make his feelings known. But it felt very much like formulaic for me in that regard, where it's just like, you didn't get it on the first down, you didn't get it on the second down, but you just kept trying and trying and trying. And then eventually Gabe found the end zone with Morgan and was able to confess those feelings.
It's funny that you say that because Vinny does say something later. This is jumping ahead a little, obviously, but he's talking about the numerology of 4 and how it's sort of like a perfect number. It's like, you know, 4 elements, 4 whatever, fourth down. And I think Gabe makes a comment at one point where someone asks him how many times he's tried to tell her, and he says something like 3 or 3.5. And I think that was right before he actually did it. And so I'm wondering if he actually did it on try number 4 on purpose as part of that numerology. Like if they made it so it's like he's got to try 3 times before he actually does it, because that it feels just exactly perfect.
Yeah. Indeed. But he does get there eventually. And I just thought that was a really, whether or not that was intended by the writers, you know, I don't know, obviously, to what extent they're up on their football game or the nuances or the rules of that. I just thought that was a really awesome tie-in, if that was indeed what they were aiming for.
I kind of have a sense that it is, because I know Vanessa is big brain enough for that. But Vanessa, if you want to like clear it up, just give us a call. Obviously, we talked to Vlad and Vanessa about this, and Vlad was sort of indicating that she did a lot of research for this, and it's very apparent that that's the case. I feel like they really nailed it, and that it did incorporate all of those elements, and it As someone who's been tailgating in Buffalo thrice now, accurate, just accurate.
And the writers did indeed make trips to Buffalo in the lead up to them tackling this and approaching this and actually completing the writing on it. And it definitely shows. And I'm just really glad that they actually took the time to visit the city, to really just get granular with it, to see exactly what the Bills Mafia entails, how crazed the fans can be. And I will echo what you said. I think it definitely reflects in what they were able to put forth in the writing. It shows that they did their homework and they weren't just, flying by the seat of their pants just to write something, for the sake of writing a, bubblegum holiday film. They knew the assignment and nailed it. They understood it.
Speaking of bubblegum, there is a line about bubblegum in the movie where they say that it's just chemicals so it doesn't expire. Mm-hmm. Which is hilarious on a lot of levels. But also, Santa prefers gum.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because it doesn't expire.
Possibly. I mean, he lives forever, so just needs a, endless candy supply.
But he needs to live on sugar to get through 24 hours of present deliveries.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that kind of brings us to our main plot introduction, which is a package gets delivered for Uncle Tommy. So Tommy is never married, doesn't have children of his own, but his sister is Morgan's mom. And Morgan's father died when she was just a little girl. And so Morgan and her mom and her sister moved in with Uncle Tommy in the house that he inherited from his own mother. And they've all lived together for 30-ish years, roughly. I think Morgan has her own place, but like she grew up there and like that's where they meet. That's the house that's next door to the DeLucas. And so a package gets delivered for him. There's no return address. And inside is a Hallmark ornament that's Bills themed. It's sold out right now, and I'm mad about that. But maybe someday it will come back in stock and we can get it. But it is the central mystery when he opens it up and she's like, "Oh, who's that from?" And he's like, "I've been getting presents like this every year for Christmas since like 1972. So Morgan and Gabe are just confounded by this, and he has no idea who they're from. And the gifts started as help for his family when he got drafted to go to the Vietnam War. And his mother was struggling because I guess he was quite a breadwinner for their family at the time as well. And I think his father was out of the picture by that point, probably unfortunately passed away himself. And so, the main breadwinner gets drafted and has to go to Nam, and suddenly money starts showing up and groceries start showing up. So somebody is anonymously gifting his family with these things. And then each year at Christmas, he receives some sort of token from her. And so, of course, Morgan must know more. I would want to know more too. I don't blame them. And so she and Gabe go to the post office. And I love this scene because Gabe is just like, surely with today's technology, we should be able to figure out who sent this, no problem. And they go in there and immediately the guy's like, "Yeah, can't help you." And Gabe's just like, "But today's technology."
It's like, yeah, but just because it was postmarked in Buffalo doesn't mean it necessarily came from here. And just another really great comedic scene. But I think it was just a really nice introduction to that plot point as well, because you can very quickly see that it's going to be what brings Morgan and Gabe together. And they immediately start spending time together because they want to crack this for Uncle Tommy in the lead up to Christmas. So they strike out at the post office, but then it turns out that they're able to find one of these very specific sort of like Buffalo themed figurines that have come from a very specific gift shop that is also located in East Aurora. So they're able to immediately take that, go to this gift shop and say, or this store, which is Vidler's 5 and 10, which again, real place, you can visit it in East Aurora. And they're able to start talking there with one of the workers,
Cindy C.
We'll let
We'll
you.
say I clocked her immediately.
We'll let you figure that out for yourselves. And say, like, we obviously know this came from here. Do you guys have receipts for past purchases? Can we take a look at those? And it actually, I think, is a good kind of like black and white but into today's technology, because it turns out that it's not actually about technology that they're going to find this person and track down this mystery gift sender. It's because they have paper receipts going
Invoices dating back to the 60s. That's the most unbelievable part of this whole thing, but it's clearly part of the whole like magic of Christmas of it all that must be found in every Hallmark movie. Like that's one of those, plot devices that always exists. It existed in the Chiefs movie. Like there's always some of that like supernatural element, truly. And so they spend all their time looking through these invoices. The other movie that I watched that Holland Roden is in, the Five Golden Rings one, has not a totally similar premise, but basically her character, she's an artist. She lives in New York City, but she grew up with her mother and her grandmother started an antique shop that she ran with her daughter, Audrey's mom. And so one of the things that she liked to do was sort of like treasure hunt. And after she passed away, she left Audrey, same actress. She left Audrey 5 gold rings. So there was like a cuff and an actual ring, a necklace that was circular, a few other types of things. And so, one of them was a keychain. And so they all had, inscriptions or names or some sort of hint where she could figure out who they were. And her grandmother kind of like pushed her to enlist the help of her childhood friend, who happens to be a private detective now. And so they're like, looking at all these things and going through the history of the items to see if they can return them to their original owners before Christmas. And so while I was watching that movie, I was like, once again, Holland Roden has been sent on a wild goose chase to find a needle in a haystack. So I don't know why, like, she's always roped into movies where she has to spend an inordinate amount of time looking through things to find answers to a mystery. I don't know.
Did she solve the mystery in that one? I haven't seen it.
She does.
Well, she's batting 1,000 then, apparently.
Apparently so.
Yep. But after their first night of searching through these invoices, they realize that they're not going to be able to crack this in one day, that they're going to have to come back. And I just think it's a really nice thing that they're just instantly like, let's just start coordinating our schedules and our work schedules, and we can just start coming back here all the time to figure this out. And their friends and their family are immediately noticing, because they're just like, oh, you're spending a lot of time with Gabe all of a sudden. What's up with that? And everybody is noticing, but these two people just can't see it, don't want to see it, but it's just firecrackers to me. But I also really liked, too, that now we start getting into their career paths and what they're doing and we see what their jobs are. And we see that Morgan is a nurse at the Children's Hospital. Pediatrician. I stand corrected. At the Children's Hospital, which is pretty well known in Buffalo, because it's, the one that Josh Allen and his family notoriously have donated substantial amounts of money to, continue to support. There's an entire Patricia Allen wing in that hospital. And so I thought it was just really heartwarming and touching for me that they incorporated that, because the Allen family has done so much for the hospital in terms of giving back to the community. And I just thought that was really, really excellent to bring in.
Yeah, I loved their first visit. Morgan kind of gets called in because one of her patients needs to have blood drawn, I think, and she's afraid of the needle. And Morgan just kind of has like this preternatural ability to keep kids calm and to like help them through it when nobody else seems to be able to. And so Gabe follows along. Oh, and this is just after they've gone to get hot chocolate or coffee or something, and they've run into like 3 Bills legends, and Morgan just like can't stop herself. Morgan is almost like Lorelai Gilmore coded in the way that she's very like hyper verbal, and something will come to her attention and she'll just be like fixated on it, and we'll just talk and talk and talk, because that's what happens when she sees these Bills legends just in a coffee shop and just kind of makes a little bit of a fool of herself, but not in a bad way. Just sort of like a, oh my God, I don't even remember which ones they were now. I have so many notes that I'm like, I probably wrote the names down and I already forgot them. This is going to be another episode where you get to watch my brain melt in real time. So that's going to be fun. I am quite tired today, but I'm clocking it through. Anyway, so they're at the, like one of my favorite comedy moments also comes when they're at the hospital, because a nurse does pop out and is like, hey, Morgan, how are things going for CCCT? And that stands for Christmas Card Craft Time. And how Santa's getting a lot of requests for Bills merch this year, wink, wink. And then the nurse asks, how many glitter pom-poms is too many glitter pom-poms? And Morgan says, one can never have too many glitter pom-poms. And then the response is, good, because I bought a lot. And both of us felt that deeply in our souls.
Yes, we are fans of sequins, bedazzling, anything that is shiny, if in case you haven't been able to figure that out.
I'm a friggin' magpie.
But I also love how she says it in front of Morgan and Gabe, because Gabe is immediately able to clock like, oh, I can contribute here. I can help out. Like, I can start calling in favors at work and get some Bills merch donated for these kids. And right away, Morgan's just like, yeah, that'd be great. Like, and you just definitely see how much appreciation they're starting to have for one another in terms of what you're doing to support my career, and not necessarily even supporting her career, but supporting these kids. And then, you know, what Gabe is doing for Uncle Tommy. So they're both just calling in favors to make Christmas as special as it can be for each other, but also for the people around them that mean the most to them.
Exactly. And there's even a moment earlier on where Gabe says, I hate calling in favors at work, because he works with such a high profile organization in town. He doesn't want to be the guy who's constantly asking for stuff and like abusing his position to help out his friends or whatever. But in this case, he's doing it for the kids. He's doing it for a really good cause. So what if there's a little bit of a personal benefit in that he looks really good to Morgan, but like the kids are the ones who ultimately benefit the most from it. And so he's able to swing it for Dion Dawkins, Damar Hamlin, and Dwayne Carter to join the kids for craft time. And it's the cutest thing ever. Dion Dawkins is everything in that scene. His like dice hair clips. And he's like, I love the glitter pom-pom selection. Like, it's just so cute. And I love how many cameos they were able to get. These are not the end of the Bills cameos, but that scene is just adorable. And then again, everybody at the hospital is just like, so when are you going to tell her that you're into her? And, you know, everybody is, even the football players who are busy doing crafts with kids are like, oh yeah, they're into each other. Like, it's so cute.
I just love how you have those moments where even like Dion Dawkins is just like, he is into her. And it's just so funny and hilarious. I love how you also have moments where Morgan goes up to Damar Hamlin, is just like, hey, can you help Ava with her Christmas card? And he's like, heck yes, let's get you the best Christmas card ever for Santa. And then who shows up again? Santa, making the rounds.
Santa's everywhere.
Mm-hmm. The man is busy, but present.
Yeah, it's like his busiest time of year, and yet here he is at a children's hospital at craft time. Mm-hmm. Bringing merch for the kids. Can we talk about the fashion and the merch in this movie? Like, Morgan's whole wardrobe. Just so good. There's this moment where she wears a jacket that's like half denim jacket, half puffer jacket, and it's got a red, white, and blue fur collar. I lost my mind at that one. I was like, I need the costume department to curate some things and send them to me. Okay, thanks, bye.
Also, set design and the production surrounding set design as well. Granted, a lot of this was, like I said, filmed in Western New York. But I'm just going to flash back to an earlier scene that we have sort of at the start of the movie where they're decorating the house, getting it ready, and then they're doing like the lights reveal outside the house. And I was just like, holy moly. They did the furthest thing from missing the mark, and it was just like a Bills explosion. They have like "Go Bills" written in lights on their roof. Just Buffalo Bills inflatables on their lawn. Tracy Pollan comes out with this bedazzled red, blue, gift wrapped megaphone and Bills colors, and I was like, "Where is this family, and where are these people, and how can I find them?" Oh, they're right in my backyard.
I may have looked for megaphones on Amazon to be like, can I bedazzle a megaphone? Because I need this. And yeah, like, again, I have met these people at these tailgates. You know, I have seen it with my own eyes that this is what people do. And so I was like, you nailed it. And like the giant inflatable buffaloes that they had on their lawn in that sort of like red, white, and blue. It's almost like a zebra print. That's the best way I can describe it, is a zebra print. That kind of pervades the Buffalo merch scene. And it's just perfect. Anyway, so moving along. Oh, I like this one. It kind of goes back to, you know, the house, and the family is getting together and cooking and making cookies and ornaments. And it's Gabe's dad who's like, does anyone know how to make stew taste less burnt? It's urgent. Ricky's gonna kill me.
Yep. And immediately Uncle Tommy jumps up and is just like, I've got this, I'm here for it. But it also is a really great moment because then it allows Morgan and Gabe to once again be alone together, to not only continue their plotting, but just to have more moments to really just allow the chemistry to continue to escalate, for the fireworks to continue to go off. And then we start to see them continue to flesh out ideas on how are we going to find this person? What are we going to do next? And I'd like to kind of transition there. What are some of those next steps as we progress through the movie now that we see them start to take on how they're going to find this mystery sender?
Right. So obviously they spend many nights holed up in Vidler's attic looking through invoices. And finally they stumble upon the invoice that matches the serial number on the trinket. And it's quite faded by that point, but they're able to make out part of an address, and it looks like it says 360 Abbott Road or something. And so they're like, Abbott, which happens to be like right near the stadium. And so they go to this house and they knock on the door, and who do they find inside but Dawson Knox? It's like, hi, Dawson Knox. We clearly have the wrong house. Did you happen to live here in the 70s? And he's like, no, I wasn't born until 1991, so I'm going to go with no.
Yeah, great moment. But it also harkens back to what you said about Morgan just being like so stunned and flabbergasted when she meets these people, and she's just like, oh, hi. And then she almost goes to Gabe and is like, do you see who it is? And he's like, yeah, I know. I see him at work.
Yeah. I love how when they're leaving that situation too, it's just like, see you, Dawson. Like, just so casual. And you know, Morgan starts to have a little bit of a crisis because she's like, that was our only lead, and so now what do we do? And they're having this whole conversation out in front of a car, and they're kind of like blocking a guy who's like, excuse me, you're kind of like in my way. And there comes a great sort of motivational speech where it's like, where else would you rather be than right here, right now? The immortal words of Marv Levy. I am just very hyped. And then the guy comes out of his car and he's just like, I understand. And it was a beautiful speech. Go Bills. And then he just like drives off.
Trust me, folks, the entire city is like this. So it's not even for show or just for the movie. That's what you would get in that level of interaction. Just, I'm here for you guys. I support it. Tell her how you feel. Go Bills.
Yeah. I like when Gabe is talking to Santa as well. Like Santa kind of confronts him on the street about like, so when are you going to tell her? And he's like, I tried, but I just keep fumbling. And then Gabe asks him or somebody asks him if he's a Bills fan. And he's like, does it snow in the North Pole? And I tell you, when I was watching the Chiefs movie and he said he was a Chiefs fan, I was like, pick a side. You've picked more teams than Aaron Rodgers. Like,
hey, but that was actually really, really good.
Thank you. Thank you. Like, he's a shifty character and his loyalties are divided. He better be a believer. It only makes sense.
He is. He is. And for any kids that may be watching this movie, look, Santa Claus is a Bills fan. So if you don't want coal in your stocking this year, you know who you got to root for in these coming weeks.
Exactly. I also like how Gabe's like, she's my Super Bowl.
Oh, that like right in the feels. That was just like a stake through the heart for me, but in the best way. When he said, I was just like, oh, like I'm not one for sappiness, for that over the top sort of like mushy gushy sort of thing.
It's cheesy.
It's cheesy, but I was still here for it, and I'm just like, okay, I'll let it slide just this once.
Yeah,
I'll let it slide down on the field like Josh Allen doing 40 yards to get a tutty.
Yeah, I made a note here that says put a Bills Super Bowl on my Christmas list too, but I can't remember whether that was you or somebody in the movie.
That was in the movie, but it's also on both of our Christmas lists.
Yeah, I don't have many requests for Christmas this year, but a Bills Super Bowl
is Bills Super Bowl, a Super Bowl win.
Yeah,
we want that ring. We want that ring.
Oh, I love the line, no one does snow better than us. Like, I love Buffalo during the holidays. Nobody does snow better than us. And again, can attest.
Yep. Yeah, we know what we're doing here. But I do want to move us along towards, again, now we're starting to get towards the resolution of how we're going to find this person, who they are. And they're actually able to backtrack a little bit on the invoice from Vidler's and see that it wasn't actually Abbott Road, but it was a different street that Santa is actually able to help them discern, because it's like, I'm actually going to a party over there. And that's actually how they're able to figure out that they have the wrong location. So they backtrack to the house that it actually is. They go ring the doorbell. You talk about your brain melting, of this person's house. And tell me a little bit about who answers and what we start to see happen next.
Right. So there's a moment where Gabe and Morgan are talking to Tommy, and they're looking through some old photos, and they see a picture of him with his sort of like high school love, who he lost touch with after he got drafted. And he was never really able to track her down properly after, kind of has, been thinking about her ever since, really, of course. But doesn't know where she is. And so they go up to this address on Abbotsford Place, knock on the door, and who is there but Mia, the girlfriend from high school. And so they figure out that her sister still owns the house, and she's there. Oh, it's funny. We skipped over like probably one of the funniest scenes in the whole movie. So they figure out who Mia is from this photo, but they haven't got the new address yet. And so Morgan and Gabe go to their friend Trish, who's part of that sort of like trifecta of friends. And you get to go down to her like mafia cave,
which
is just like the best thing. It's just full of Bills merch. And she's just like sitting in a recliner being like, Morgan, you may know medicine, but social media, it's an art. And I'm Michelangelo, baby. And so they start like social media stalking Mia, but she's not on socials. Her sister's on socials, but her account's not super active, and there's only a few photos. And so it doesn't really like lead them anywhere. So once again, they hit this dead end until Santa mentions this address, and they're like, oh, what if that's the address? And they're trying to figure out who owns the place, and they go knock on the door, and lo and behold, Mia is there, and she does cop to it being her, that has been sending these things all of these years, because she's always been in love with him, but, you know, she had her own life, he had his. She didn't know how to, you know, bridge that gap. And she was like, I just, you know, after all of this time, I couldn't bear it if I told him that I'd lived him all these years and nothing came of it. Like, it's too late for us kind of vibes. And, you know, Morgan wants to tell, or Gabe wants to tell Tommy about it, but Morgan's like, you heard what she said. She doesn't want that. And so it's kind of this like tension between them, and they start bickering about it. And that's when he kind of goes into his whole, you know, I love that you jump on tables, and I love that you do anything for your family. I love that you're loud, that you jump on tables when your team scores. You're funny, you're self-deprecating, honest. You never back down. I love every second I got to spend with you because I love you. And so like this whole interaction with Mia saying like, oh, this is self-preservation. I couldn't bear that heartbreak, especially at Christmas. It really just sort of prompts Gabe to be like, I don't want to feel like it's too late. And like I said, nothing. And so it really prompts him to do it. But then Morgan doesn't exactly reciprocate. She's like, I'm just gonna go walk home now. It's not far. I'm just gonna walk. Just gonna leave.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair though, it was, I think, very much a deer in the headlights moment for her, because even though I think we can both see that there's always been chemistry between them, that they both have an attraction towards one another. And yeah, they've been spending all of this time at Vidler's going through these invoices. Obviously, they have history as being childhood friends, going to the same high school. Their families have known each other forever. But these two people haven't actually dated, you know, in the traditional way that I think we all come to expect. They haven't been going out to dinners or movies or spending time with one another that wasn't shrouded around, you know, obviously trying to do what they're trying to do to find this mystery sender. So they haven't had those interactions where, you know, you say like, can I take you out on a date? You know, can we take our relationship to the next level? What does that mean for us? What does it look like? So I think they have both been acknowledging, and I think Morgan was acknowledging her feelings that have always been there for her, but it was just also kind of out of left field at that moment in time where it's like, whoa, yes, I feel this, but also didn't see this revelation coming in this moment. So you just got to give me some time to process it. And I think that's kind of why she ran away, because she's like, I'm going to need to sit with this and take my time with it and see how I'm going to respond. It's not that my feelings are not there. I just didn't see it coming because we don't have that history in that capacity yet.
Yeah, it is kind of out of nowhere. Like, obviously, people are picking up on the chemistry, but that's not the same as, like, proclaiming your love on the sidewalk and you just kind of being hit with that revelation. You know, you might suspect and you might have people putting an earworm in, but it's not the same thing as, like, hearing it from them and it just kind of not knowing how you feel about it yet. And so like, yeah, I kind of get it. But that kind of brings us to like the start of the beginning of the end, if you will. And it's finally the holiday tailgate and, you know, the families are together. Gabe kind of shows up a little bit late and he has a really nice chat with Uncle Tommy. I think Uncle Tommy can kind of see the tension that's now between them. And he says, like, you know, maybe it hurts now that happened, but like pain turns to regret and you don't want that living in your head rent free. Sometimes you need to take a chance. And so this also has another one of like my funniest moments from the movie. It kind of has that that funny mix of earnestness, but also comedy that they were able to inject with it, where Kathy's husband is like he's full body painted and Joanne, his mother-in-law, has to be like, no table jumping until after dessert.
Yep. It very much made me think too, and this may be something that not everybody is familiar with, but the Kelsey brothers do have a podcast that they, you know, do weekly. And I remember during one of their episodes, they were saying how I don't know why I'm blanking on her name, the wife. Kylie was just like, you know, when her husband was just like, listen, Bills Mafia are here. They've got the flaming tables going. I really just want to go jump on it. And she's like, can we not do that right now? Because Taylor Swift is in the building, and I think they were just looking to make a good impression. But it just made me think of that moment and just relate the two. And it was just like, maybe let's not jump on the flaming table right now. There's a time and place for everything, sweetie. And I will say, okay, I get it. But my answer to that is that when is there a time and place to jump on a flaming table? Always. All the time.
Always.
Do it.
Yeah. So I liked that moment a lot. And then it kind of pivots to the final game, which is between the Bills and the Pats. And, Gabe hasn't shown up. He is kind of off, and everybody's like, oh my God, like, I hope he gets here in time. We have to take our family picture. It wouldn't be a family picture without Gabe. And I find that so cute that like they do it together, and it's like, the family's not complete if they're apart. And, obviously that makes them perfect for each other.
Yeah.
But the end, okay. So I'm not a big crier when it comes to movies. I mostly cry when I'm frustrated, actually. Like, I don't tear up for like, oh, that was so sweet. Like, this is such a great moment. Like, that's just not how I'm built. So yeah, I don't often cry at movies. But I teared up at this scene. And I was like, not me sitting here crying at a fucking Hallmark movie.
But it happens because they're obviously doing a salute to service. They're highlighting servicemen and women who have served in the armed forces, whatever branch that might be, for the United States. And so it turns out that one of the family members is actually just being honored that particular day. And it turns out that I believe it was Mia's niece. Yeah. I think I have that correct, that it is the niece who is being honored.
And that's part of why she's in town.
Yeah, and that's why she's there to go to it. So the niece is on the field, and that's all of a sudden when Gabe shows up in the stands, and Morgan is just like, oh, hey, you made it. And he's like, yeah, but just look at the field and pay attention as to what's about to happen.
Yeah. And then the niece, Angela, takes the mic and is like, there's another vet here who wants to express his thanks to someone as well. And out comes Uncle Tommy. And he tells the story about how Mia anonymously supported his family while he was at war, and how to his family, Mia is a hero. And then he says to her, like, I love you. Like, I've loved you since, 1970 or whatever it was, back when the Bills still played at the Rock Pile. And they kiss on the field, and that's apparently enough to make me cry. There was something about it, the way it was written, where, these people who are meeting again after 55-ish years or so, like, it's not too late. It's never too late. Mm-hmm. Tell people how you feel. Take the chance. And just the fact that, Gabe was able to tell him, and that the feeling was mutual, and just everybody was there to see it. It was just a really oddly heartwarming moment.
Yeah. And I love how it just comes full circle in terms of the parallel that you get between Tommy and Mia and Gabe and Morgan, with the, don't hide your love away. You need to not hide your love away. You need to just put it out there into the universe. And, whatever will be, but don't just sit with it, never say anything, and then just always wonder about what's going to happen. Oh, like, what if I had actually confessed my feelings? So I thought it was just a really great parallel between this older couple, but now also between this younger couple, with just, both of them in their own right, just confessing how they feel, and then just having it be actually the response, and I think the revelation that we all want to see where it's just like it's received positively, the feelings are reciprocated, and so now we're just getting not only one but just two really, really great love stories coming to fruition, and now we just get to see them start to revel in it.
Yeah, it's very much the moral of the story is like, take a risk, be a little bit vulnerable, put yourself out there, because otherwise you're just going to live with bitterness and regret. And that's no way to live. So if you feel something and you think it's real, go for it, because, it's the only thing you can do. And I'm kind of here for that. Before meeting Dan, my whole philosophy on dating shifted after, like a string of failures in my 20s to be like, I'm going to be who I am and I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to say what I think and what I feel, because if I don't, then it's going to be a false version of me with that person. And I'm always going to feel like I have to tiptoe. And I didn't want to do that. If I felt something, if I felt a certain kind of way about a relationship, I wanted to put it out there, because anybody who wanted to be with me would receive that positively, and anybody who didn't would not. And it would be like a filter, right? Mm-hmm. And it worked perfectly with Dan, where it was just like both of us instantly, like there was no problem with it. And he took it very well and was like, yeah, I feel the same. And so I think that's kind of similar in the moral, the love story moral of this is that, yeah, every one of these Hallmark movies has one of those like themes, and that's the theme of this one is don't wait. If you like somebody, just friggin' tell them. Just like, stop playing games and being scared, and just do it, because otherwise you're just stuck.
Yep. And I will also, I concur with all of that. Definitely, be transparent in a healthy way with communicating emotions. But I will just harken back to the scene. I love how they just once again inject more comedy into it as well, where now Kathy is actually going into active labor as this game is ongoing and all of these revelations are happening. And so the family is immediately just like, we've got to go to the hospital. And she's like, I was trying so hard at this point in time just to keep this kid in now, as opposed to having them come out before this game. But they're all rushing off, and you see Steve Sharippa, Frank, just sitting there, just being like, not moving, and just like continuing to watch the game. And at that point in time, Ricky's just like, we're leaving. She's in labor. And he's like, but the game. And I was like, you know what? I feel you, my dude, and I might have done the same, and I've been like, but the Bills.
It's not your granddaughter being born.
Game, like, we're here.
You'll meet the kid later.
I get it. But I thought that was just a really fun interjection there.
It's true, and there's another funny part to that scene. Kathy has sort of a habit where she listens to influencers. She, I guess, watches a lot of stuff on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And so, like, that's one of the things she was talking about with Morgan while they're preparing for the tailgate and everything. And so in this moment, she's like trying to use breathing techniques to keep like control, I guess, over the situation. And then in this moment, she's like, the breathing doesn't work. The influencers are wrong. And just the way she says it is so funny. And I'm like, yeah, duh, they're influencers. Most of the time they don't know what they're talking about.
Yep. Social commentary and a dig that I was here for, because I will concur. Read a book.
Talk to a doctor.
Take some professional advice from people who have studied, instead of what you see on an Insta reel or on TikTok. Thank you and good night.
Or instead of just chugging hot sauce for 2 weeks on end. But anyway, that's just for funsies, not for inducing labor. So obviously with Kathy going into labor, they don't get a chance to take their family photo. And so after the baby is born and now it's Christmas Day, Gabe pulls one more string and makes it possible for them to play a flag football game at Highmark. And once again, active players and legends show up, and Dion Dawkins is there again. And I love his final line where, or was it with Sean in that scene as well? Because Sean McDermott makes an appearance earlier where Gabe is thanking him for setting up the hospital visit. And Sean's like, the guys are right. He's totally into her. And then I think he comes back at the end as well. Or a couple people are there at the end. And they're like, finally, it's about time. And then Dion Dawkins is like, I know, right?
Yep. Yeah. And I also just have to highlight the fact that you just get the renowned Jim Kelly coming back for this movie. Thank you, sir. I appreciate seeing you on screen and what you have done for the city and for this team. But I think for anyone that's a Bills fan, that was just kind of like a chef's kiss to everything that we've gotten up until this point.
Yeah. And of course, the movie ends with them, kissing in the end zone, and it's a dream. Really, I'm like, can I do this? How does one play flag at Highmark? Now that they're building a new stadium, maybe it'll be a lot easier. Anyway, and then of course, the kind of final shot is Santa Claus sitting in the stands with none other than Cindy C. Enjoying.
The Vidler's worker is Mrs. Claus. Got it.
It's almost like she's making some magic happen. So yeah, they're just kind of sitting there enjoying some cocoa or cider or whatever it is they've got in their little thermos. And yeah, called it. I was like, she's totally Cindy Claus. Cindy Claus. Duh. So, on that note, it's, the movie it's still formulaic, and it still has that signature Hallmark cheese and sap. But, as a Canadian, we have a lot of maple syrup, so got to enjoy some sap sometimes, right? And it does have that kind of formula where everything's going to work out in the end. But it doesn't feel as cookie cutter as some of the other ones, because I find with these sort of like countdown to Christmas things, it's sort of like there's only so much you can do when you're trying to keep things positive and light and cute and romantic, but you have to make like 20 movies that are all going to be shown back to back. And so that's what I liked about this one. It felt very fresh. It's kind of unlike anything I've seen before. Even the other NFL Hallmark movie, that one felt a lot more kind of like a traditional Hallmark movie, but just with like Chiefs gear everywhere. This actually felt like a movie about, like a love letter to Buffalo and just, two friends falling in love. And it just felt a lot more organic than a lot of the other ones I've seen. Sometimes that sort of like canned happiness is great. It's fine. Like I said, I've watched a couple of these movies, and most of them are enjoyable just to like sit and absorb or to have on in the background while making Christmas cookies. Like, again, they serve a specific niche of entertainment, right? And it's nice to know that like there's always kind of going to be a happy Christmas movie that you can have on in the background. But this one just felt different, and I don't know if it's because I'm a Bills fan. Like, maybe if I wasn't as much of a Bills fan and I didn't know who these people were and I didn't have any connection to the city of Buffalo, maybe I would feel differently. So it could just be that I'm extremely biased. And not to mention that, like, Vanessa bias. We obviously really like her and believe she's a genius. So,
Indeed.
Maybe there's a little bit of that creeping in. But, like, I watched, like, 5 other Hallmark movies, and none of them were this good.
And I think it's important. I mean, again, going back to something I've said before, I am not the type of person that wants to sign myself up for something that is cheesy, that is sappy, that is just going to hit me over the head with an ooey gooey love story. I just can't do it. It's for a good chunk of people, because these films get like made each and every single year, just churning them out like butter in terms of just these lifetime Hallmark love stories. But they're just not for me. This one was. And I think the biggest difference there is because of the writing, because they were able to incorporate a substantial plot where, yes, it's surrounding this love story and these two people coming together, but it's just also wanting it leaves you with intrigue. Like, I want to know, who is this mystery gift sender? Who is doing this? It could have turned out that it wasn't even necessarily a love interest for Uncle Tommy, and I still would have wanted to know, like, who this person is. I was intrigued from the start with just wanting to watch this until the end to know who's doing this. But I also wanted to know, like, are Gabe and Morgan going to get together? I think I'm also definitely biased by, being a Buffalo resident. Obviously that factors into the appeal for me here. But I think that even if you're not a Buffalo resident or a Bills fan, you can still watch this movie and you'll have a ton of things about it that you will appreciate it because the writing was there.
Exactly. So again, as a Buffalo resident, I feel like you're uniquely qualified. Well, maybe not uniquely, but like especially qualified to talk about, was this a touchdown or was it an incompletion when it comes to, like, I mean, this kind of, we've sort of answered this along the way, but like I wanted to know from you specifically more about, like, did they nail this? Especially, yes, like the Buffalo sentiment and the mafia and all of that. Like, give me some more about, like, how well exactly they did with this.
Yeah. I think they scored a touchdown. I do think they found the end zone. Josh Allen connected with his wide receivers. Vanessa and Danny connected, and got us that 6 points. And then the field goal was good. I think they really got to the crux of, it's a city of good neighbors, and it really, really is. It showed with just even saying, like, hey, we're just, two people coming off the street. Can we maybe go up into your attic and take a look at these old receipts, just because we're trying to do something good for our Uncle Tommy, and Cindy's willing to help them out. Friends and family that are always there to just, surround you with love and warmth and openness. People even just in coffee shops on the street who are just going to go out of their way for you. So I think they really found the heart of the people of Buffalo and how friendly and warm they are. In terms of the Bills, what's the word I want to use here for? Devotion, because the Buffalo Bills are their own religion to this city. It showed. I mean, that man cave, when they're just trying to do some social media digging, I'm sure it's actually very realistic for a lot of people that their basements are just decked out like that. Decorating their houses with inflatable, buffaloes. I probably saw that 5 times just today, throughout the course of my driving. Going nuts with your home decorating, the tailgating, and just being here for the team. So I think they really touched on everything that was good. The only nugget and thing that I would say I would not even criticize, but that I just really wanted to see more of, is just the flaming table jumping. Which, if you're not familiar, Bills fans we're a breed. But one of our things is lighting folding tables on fire and then jumping on them. We do it regularly.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Think what you will of it, but it's a thing. And I just really wanted to see more of that, just for the outrageousness of it, but also just because I think it's such a crutch of tailgating and the football experience. But that's the only thing that I think that was potentially maybe like a dunk or a doink on the field goal post, was just not enough flaming tables.
Yeah, and like there's a moment at the end where Kathy's holding the new baby, and it kind of looks like there was a table in front of them, like a folding table. And it's sort of like, you know, what better way to christen the newest member of Bills Mafia on Christmas Day? But like they missed the opportunity to like put it down on the table and like make the table crush under her, like to just sort of have that be like the moment. But that could totally be a direction thing or an editing issue where it was filmed but it got cut for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like they were going there and then they didn't.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that was like Vanessa's fault because it feels like it was in the script. And then it
Mm-hmm.
just kind of didn't make it to the final cut. But also going back to that mafia cave scene, there was another moment that was just one of my favorites where so they're talking to Trish, but then the guys come in with shovels and they're like, "Oh, we volunteered to remove snow from Highmark." And they're like, "Oh, a little snow never kept this city down." And then it cuts to outside and like snow falls off of a roof onto like a little plastic reindeer. And then it cuts back inside. And then they're like, "Actually, a snow melting machine might be nice." Because Gabe had just said that the new stadium is going to have a state of the art snow melting system, which is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely necessary in
Yes.
Buffalo because I have seen images of Highmark absolutely buried in snow and people just
Mm-hmm.
came and they shoveled and they made do and they showed up anyway. And I was like, you guys are crazy and I'm here for it. But I thought it was so funny that they inserted that little like cut to outside where the snow just like literally fell and crushed a reindeer.
Oh. Very funny, but also just another little truth nugget and an excellent, point of research into the movie because, over the past few years, when snow has built up at Highmark, the team and the Buffalo Bills will actually put out legitimately a PSA saying, "Hey, like we need our stadium to be shoveled out for this game. We will literally give $20 to anybody who comes out and just shovels out the stadium for us." And thousands of people will literally flock to the stadium, just bringing their own shovels. Heck, you don't even have to pay them $20. I guarantee all of these people would do it for free if they needed to, but they will just come, and that's how the stadium, honest to God, gets shoveled out.
It's wild. Y'all are wild, and I love it so much. Hence the get up. Like my headband is glittery buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
courtesy of this one here. Little gifty gift. She also got me a sweater that says tailgate princess and it has like a broken table depicted in rhinestones. Like that's how we roll up in here. But all right, let's get back to the movie maybe more generally. um I will say that like one of the things I like about it is that it's not your, like I said, your cookie cutter Hallmark movie where it's kind of like a woman from a small town who's moved to a big city and like has her own life, but she's single and the only thing missing in her life is a man. And then, you know, a loved one dies and she goes back to that hometown or that small town, wherever. And she's thrown together with a man who just happens to be perfect for her, who happens to like, you know, make her change her mind about how she's living her life. The one that comes to mind from this year, and I will say, like, I didn't hate this movie either. I watched it twice. Christmas at the Catnip Cafe. So again, spoilers for that if you haven't seen it and want to, but it's sort of like this woman who spent a lot of time with her aunt as a child, or her great aunt, I can't remember, but because her parents were sort of nomadic workers and they would travel around a lot. And so sometimes she would spend a good amount of time with her aunt, and she's spending Christmas with her one year when she kind of adopts a cat, and or like they find a cat in a tree and she wants to keep it, but her parents are like, that's not really fair because like we don't have a home base where the cat can live. We can't keep taking it with us. And so she gets really attached to this cat and her aunt decides to keep it. And then so this little girl grows up and moves to California. She's a big fancy marketing exec and has this great job, and she's trying to buy this big fancy apartment and she needs a little bit more money for a down payment because it's a little out of her budget. And then she gets a call from a lawyer about her aunt's estate and how her aunt was a half owner of a cat cafe in upstate New York. And she's like, oh, if we could just sell that business, I would have enough money for my dream apartment so that I can finally like build myself a home. But of course, she goes back, she meets the other co-owner, and he's the handsome town veterinarian who's like obsessed with this cat cafe, and rightly so. It's a great business. And he's like, you know, this is my dream. It's a part of this community. It offers a lot of value to people I don't want to sell. And he kind of like manipulates her. And I use the word manipulates pretty like loosely here. In terms of like the manipulations I've seen in movies, it's on the lower end. But he's just sort of like, if you stay and help us put on all of our Christmas events, because I don't have anybody to help me run them this year, I won't block the sale. And so she's kind of stuck there for 3 weeks, living in her aunt's half-packed house that's being put up for sale. And of course, she puts on all these events and she meets the locals and she sees how much the business means to everybody. And at the end, she's like, I can't sell, you know, I've gotten these signs from my aunt that like, this is where I should be. And spoiler alert, she moves into her aunt's house and gets together with the guy and they keep running the business. And it's just sort of like, it feels like the blueprint that happens a lot in these movies where it's just like, she's independent, she's strong, she wants to purchase a home for herself, but then her life is completed by moving to a small town and meeting a man. It has that very sort of like conservative family values undertone. And obviously, you know, Hallmark is meant to be palatable like that kind of across the spectrum, but you don't see a lot of straying from that. Even the Chiefs movie. So it's set in Independence, Missouri, which is part of the greater Kansas City area, and it looks quite close, actually, like to the city center. But you like never see downtown KC in that movie. You get like downtown Main Street, USA, and the Chiefs Stadium, and like a Christmas market. Those are kind of like your main settings, and rural or like suburban KC. Whereas this Buffalo movie, like you actually see shots of Buffalo and you get the hospital. And even though a lot of it was shot in sort of like a tiny little pocket suburb, it feels like you could be in any residential pocket of the city. I've driven around Buffalo enough to know that like there are places that look like that right in Buffalo proper. Like it is, you know, a big enough place that, but like you feel like you're in Buffalo. There's no fish out of water. There's no girl boss who learns the true meaning of Christmas by meeting a man and giving up her career and her life and her dreams or whatever she wants because it's better to, you know, move home. And there was something that struck me about it too, where it's just like, you know, she's trying to buy this fancy apartment in California, but she's able to probably buy her aunt's house out of probate for less money. And I'm like, what does this say about the state of the housing market that like women are choosing to give up their lucrative careers and their dreams of a condo in California to like, granted, I would prefer her aunt's house to the condo that she was looking at. I prefer that sort of like charming little house with the stained glass windows vibe to the big open airy penthouse condo myself. But like, it didn't seem like that was her vibe. And so now I need a follow up to that movie where she's like, what am I supposed to do in Felicity, New York? You know, it feels like, you know, the end of the story is the falling in love, but then what? And you never get that. But I feel like with this movie, that's not going to happen, you know, because these people have known each other forever. They are best friends. Their families are intimately intertwined. And it just feels like it's going to work and enhance everybody's lives. Nobody has to move. Nobody has to quit their job. They're both like equals. They're professionals. They both have great jobs. They spent their 20s finding themselves and establishing themselves in their career. And now they're coming together as equals out of mutual love and admiration and trust and respect. And it feels like that's going to bloom into real love as opposed to the whole like, oh my God, you're so handsome and you're a veterinarian. And like, I could just move here and run the cafe with you and just give up my whole life. I don't know.
No, you're right. They're definitely Unfortunately, everyone's going to have their own opinion on this, but I will say, unfortunately, there is a trope that is out there that has existed for a long time, that continues to exist within romance films, these types of holiday films, where it's just like the woman is just going to flush her career and everything substantial and good about her life down the toilet for a man. A lot of the time, a man that she just met 90 minutes ago. Don't do that, ladies. Just no. That could be its own conversation. That trope exists. It's out there. Again, we're not going to talk about that right now. But I really do appreciate that this movie did not do that. That, yes, it's bringing these two people together, that it's making them realize that they have these feelings for one another, that there's been this underlying sense of really just genuine love and care for one another, probably even going back to when they were, young people themselves. But they're not throwing anything substantial away about their lives or their careers to make their love and their union a reality. They'll still maintain their jobs. They'll still maintain their family and friend relationships. They're not sacrificing or giving anything up. They're just enmeshing their families even more so together with it, without having to sacrifice everything. And that's a healthy relationship. And I'm really glad that's what we got here.
Exactly. It's, again, refreshing. I liked seeing it. Even the Chiefs movie they played into the tropes a little bit, but not as much as some of the other ones I've seen. But in that case, I did like that they flipped a few things with that one. It still felt fresher than a lot of Hallmark movies I've seen, where this time it was the guy who was kind of a fish out of water. But of course, he moves to Kansas City from somewhere. They're not super clear about where he's actually from. He was kind of I guess his parents were in something that had them moving around a lot as well. And he spent a lot of his childhood in Europe. So once again, more of a soccer fan than a football fan, the other football. And so he moves to town to become the director of fan engagement for a team that he isn't even a fan of himself, really. He's like, oh, I'm getting there. And then, of course, they have him interacting with these two families that are super, well, it's, the premise is that the grandparents of Hunter King's character, both got their kids and their family, their immediate family, season tickets to the Chiefs in the 60s or the 70s, early on. And so they were sat next to each other in their season tickets. And so they had those tickets for years and years and years. And, the kids grew up and fell in love and then had a daughter. And so that's your main character. And so, she's sort of like, my family wouldn't exist without this team, and that's why we love them so much. And they have all these traditions and all these superstitions about it. And in comes this guy who's not even from town and isn't a huge football fan, and he doesn't believe in the superstition of it all. And that was the other thing that really bugged me about that movie, that is kind of at play in the Bills movie, but it's more so in the Chiefs movie, where there's a superstition about a hat. And it's sort of like, well, if everything about this hat's magic, if you will, is coincidental, then everything else is a coincidence and nothing is fate. And it kind of causes the female lead to spiral about, her family's entire story and her, I guess, self-conception. It's like, if I don't have this magical hat that we wear on Christmas and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, then, who am I and who is my family? And nothing is real and everything is useless. And it's very nihilistic. And the Bills movie has a tiny bit of that, where Morgan is sort of like, it's not meant to be. And she kind of has a moment of maybe it's just not meant to be. Maybe we're not meant to find this. Maybe we're not meant to. So there's always that sort of element of faith and fate and Christmas magic at the heart of these stories. And it felt very forced and very in the Chiefs movie, where I'm just like, girl, you need to chill. It's a hat. And I get that you're superstitious about it, but You need to live in the real world. Whereas with Morgan, I could kind of see where it's just like, oh, she'd gotten her hopes up about something and was hoping that it was just going to be like this great moment and great story. And then, you know, kind of had to maybe contend with the fact that maybe she wouldn't be able to pull it off. And it didn't feel as catastrophic as this other movie. And so that one, it just felt more forced and more like, oh, we got a fish out of water who realizes the magic of Christmas because he's like found a new family. He like ingratiates himself with them as he is trying to decide, or like trying to kind of like meet with them and get their story for the fan of the year contest. And so there's 3 finalists, I guess. And so it's her family, a house that has a crazy Chiefs light display on their front yard, and Catrick Mahomes. Which admittedly is hilarious. And I love it. Again, spoilers for this movie. If you don't want to know, plug your ears for 20 seconds while I talk about this. But so like her family obviously wins. Duh. But I do love the moment where somebody says, I'm just glad we didn't lose to the cat. I was like, that's so funny. It's someone put a little like curly wig and a Chiefs bandana on a cat, and it's funny, okay? And it led me to be like, okay, now what we need is Dion Pawkins and Pawson Knox. If those cats exist out there, and I'm not the first one to come up with this, somebody needs to like send me that Instagram account. And if not, Laura, go adopt some kittens because it needs to happen.
I will take on more cats with those names. And yeah, PSA, if you're in Buffalo, just start naming your cats after Buffalo Bills players and incorporate that. It's cute as heck, and we will appreciate it. But I think from everything that you're trying to tell us about the Bills holiday touchdown movie and the Chiefs holiday touchdown movie was that the Bills did it better.
I think they did. It just the sort of underlying themes of, you know, family and found family were more realistic, less saccharine, more believable. Hunter King's performance was good, but I think it was sort of that underlying theme that they were going with that just, it felt too over the top. This felt a lot more like, okay, no, I can buy into this. I can relate to this, as opposed to like, you're going way too far into the whole like breakdown because your family superstition is malarkey. Like, let's be real, it's malarkey. But then again, the hat was from Santa, so maybe it is magic. Mm-hmm. But I hope I'm not ruining all these Christmas movies for people. But yeah, it's just, I couldn't buy into the tension created in that movie of the will they, won't they, because it was so flimsy to begin with. Like, you know, she creates a situation where like they're clearly vibing early on in the movie. I actually, there was one moment that I really did love from that movie. We're at their first meeting, and so he's been recommended to go to her family's barbecue joint because they're like, oh, you got to go to this place, it's the best. And so he's sitting there eating like an entire like platter of barbecue. And Donna Kelsey is the manager at this place, by the way. She makes a little cameo. It's cute. But like, I don't even remember her name. Like, what even? Alana. The character's name is Alana. So her mom and grandmother are sitting, you know, a few tables over from Derek's table, and they're like, he's cute. Like, we should go see what his deal is because Alana needs a man, basically. And so they start chatting him up, and they find out he's from out of town, and it's his first time having KC barbecue. And then she walks in, and it's immediately, you know, apparent that they're into each other, that they find each other cute. And so obviously, as in many Hallmark movies, the parents are pushy and are like, you know, I see this, you guys should talk some more kind of vibes, which is mortifying for adults. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, why do your parents need to wheel for you? This should not be happening in movies in the year of our Lord 2024. But so she sits down and they're chatting, And she's like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. Like, I'm sorry that they did that to you. And he's like, no, it's fine. They're cute. And then Lena says, yeah, so are otters until they rip your face off. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, anyway, so like the whole tension between them of what is like very obviously a mutual attraction is that he can't buy into her family's superstition. Like he kind of poo-poos the whole hat thing. And then she's like, oh, well, like we're just about to close. So like maybe you should get going kind of vibes. And then the next time he returns, it's to be like, yeah, I'm the director of fan engagement that's here to like talk to you about fan of the year. And they're like, oh, shit. So, yeah. So that's the whole like give and take of the whole thing. It like the underlying premise is flimsier, whereas this actually feels more believable, where it's like, oh, like who's sending these mystery ornaments? Like there's more to it. It feels real. Like, is that so much to ask for my media to feel real and for relationships to feel real and premises to be believable? I don't know.
No, it's certainly not. And that's where, again, I will just say, Vanessa, Danny, applause. You ladies took the assignment, understood the assignment, nailed the assignment. So if we had to put a grade on it, and I think Kate would concur, A. I mean, it checked off all of the boxes. It brought in bromance and a really beautiful love story. But it also brought in everything about the city of Buffalo, the Buffalo Bills, the Mafia, and just the love of the fandom as well. And it combined those two in a really spectacular way, which is, trust me, no easy feat. Writing any sort of film is never easy, but having to combine two things that you would think seemingly might never go hand in hand, but just doing it as wonderfully as they did, is an accomplishment. And so if you have not seen this film yet, Kate, does Christmas spirit stop on the 25th of December?
It does not, as we have learned from Lorelai Gilmore herself. So I don't know how long they keep playing these movies into the holiday, but yeah, just if you can catch it, definitely do. Like it's got that coziness, the family togetherness that doesn't feel forced. It's got friends to lovers. It's got football craziness. If you're from a football family, like, and again, I'm Canadian. We don't have the same culture around it here. There are a lot of Ontarians who are fans of the Bills because you guys are like kind of our adopted team. We've talked many times about maybe just carving out Buffalo and annexing it to Canada. It just feels right. But yeah, it just, if you like football and believable love stories, but also having that same sort of like Christmas coziness, yeah, nobody does it better than Buffalo. And Vanessa and Danny have another movie. As we're recording today, this is the 21st of December. I believe it premiered last night. My sister started watching it earlier. It's so funny because she was like, oh, this looks good. And she PVR'd it. And then I can't remember whether it was last night or today, but I was like, oh, there's like Vanessa has another movie that I want to watch. It's called Make or Break Holiday. Let's PVR it. And it turns out that like she already had it PVR'd. It was just such a kismet moment. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet because we had plans last night. But yeah, look forward to watching that. I'm hoping it's as good as this one. But she had 40 minutes left last I spoke to her, but she was saying that she was enjoying it so far. So ringing endorsement.
So obviously we're Bills fans, but we did do, this review and this episode because we just wanted to, we always want to highlight and put a showcase on, other work outside of Gilmore that may, be something that is spearheaded by a Gilmore alum. So in this case, Vanessa, kudos to you. We think you did a fantastic job with this. And so we hope that if you're watching this, because you're here for Gilmore content. We hope that we didn't disappoint, but we hope that it just encourages you to go and support this movie for the sake of Vanessa, because she put in a lot of work on this. It very much shows. And so we hope that you'll give her the support that she is, wholeheartedly deserving of. If you're here for football, we hope that it's been an enjoyable conversation in that regard. If you're here because you love holiday movies or Christmas stuff or sappy, cheesy, gooey romance, whatever your niche is, but however you found us, we hope that this conversation has in some way been for you. And if you have thoughts on this movie, anything that we haven't touched upon, please just drop us a comment and always let us know. We love that engagement.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just because I wasn't using the right search terms or whatever, but like I tried finding sort of Hallmark commentary on YouTube, but I wasn't really finding it. I feel like maybe Instagram or TikTok or something maybe has shorter form content that I'm not seeing because I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on TikTok, but yeah, like people aren't really like talking about these movies in long form like we just did. So I'm hoping that if you're here because you love Hallmark, that you enjoyed it, because this is new for us. We are predominantly Gilmore experts, and there's a little bit of football expert thrown in there too, mostly her. I'm getting there. But yeah, this was a very fun crossover for us. The minute Vlad told us that Vanessa was writing a movie about the Bills, we were like, say less. Here we are. Laura came and visited when it first dropped, and we watched it together because it was a moment for us. So we're hoping that you enjoyed this conversation. Once again, sorry if I was a little all over the place. It's been a busy day, and I'm in the middle of a criminal law assignment, and my husband gets in from England tomorrow, so it's been very busy. And I'm just, tired and sliding into home on Christmas. I'm sure people get that that vibe. So hopefully this was coherent enough for people to enjoy. And we hope if you made it this far that you don't regret it.
Yeah. Again, however you found us, whatever you're here for, whether it's Gilmore, football, Christmas movies, romantic movies, whatever it may be, we hope that you just enjoyed this. But we just hope that also you have had a wonderful holiday season. If you're watching this, we wish you, your friends, your family members, all of the best this time of year. And as we go into 2026, we're just, sending you all of our love, all of the good vibes that we can put forth for you. We hope that 2026 is 1,000% your year, that it's everybody's year. And I personally, and I think Kate, I was about to call you Cake. I think that Kate would echo the sentiment of, just be good, do good. God bless.
God bless. Go Bills.
Go Bills. Guys, we just have to look. The Chiefs are out. The Ravens are questionable and will also probably be out. It's got to be our year. And if you're watching this and you've stayed with us this long, first off, God bless you. But also, we are just asking you to go to church, light a candle, whatever it is, say some prayers, good vibes for the Buffalo Bills, because we as your hosts would love nothing more than a Lombardi this year and a Super Bowl ring. So for the city of Buffalo, they need it. They deserve it. And just hopefully we'll get it done within the next few weeks. But good vibes, folks. That's all we're asking.
Praise be to our Lord and Savior, Josh Allen. Yeah. And again, it's so fitting that we're recording this on a Sunday, and we put it off until the evening because obviously we had to watch the Bills game today, which was another thing that they nailed in the movie, was the whole planning your life around Bills games. Accurate, because that's exactly what we did today. But we beat the Browns, rightly so. So we are rocking and rolling. A couple more weeks of the regular season and then playoffs. So here's to a Lombardi in 2026.
Yes. Again, because it bears repeating. Just thank you for being here with us. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. Please just have a wonderful holiday season. And again,
Happy New Year.
a Happy New Year. Be good. Do good.
Do good. God bless.
Bless. And go Bills.
Go Bills. And we'll see you some Friday in 2026 for dinner.
Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye.
Bye.